Are you looking for ways to craft more complex and memorable characters? Do you want your readers to become invested with your characters and your stories? Then you've come to the right place. This is episode 16 of A Year of Writing, a podcast about writing, productivity, and marketing. My name is Natalie and I am your host. In today's episode, we will be talking about how you can create more enchanting and better characters. Because in the end, characters, it is what drives the story forward. It's what, makes us remember what we've read before. And another benefit is that well-crafted characters with conflicting goals and beliefs, they create quite a natural source of conflict within your story. And another thing is that character development or character arcs actually create this kind of satisfying sense of progression in your story. Because the thing is that readers enjoy seeing characters change, overcoming obstacles, and moving forward. Readers also enjoy when characters achieve their goal or when goals are, ripped from them. This makes the story have more tension. So how do you craft memorable and unique characters? Well, the first step is to try to give them some kind of depth. And you do this by creating characters with a rich backstory. Make sure that they have previous relationships, they have been through some tough things, personal struggles, and that they have unique experiences. And also, consider what motivates them and what kind of fears that they have. Tip number 2 is to look at their flaws and imperfections. To create a well-rounded character that is believable for the reader, the character has to have flaws. Because no one in the real world is perfect, and no one in a book is perfect. Because, no one can relate to them if they are. And also, perfect characters are very uninteresting. So make sure to give your characters flaws and to make them more human and relatable. And flaws can also, create opportunities for your characters to grow and to develop over time. And tip number 3 is to look at their motivations and their goals. So here it's important that you define what kind of motivations and goals that your character have and what they're willing to give to achieve their goal. Because, the motivations, they will determine what will happen in your manuscript, since the motivations actually drive the character's actions and decisions. And it also, adds depth and personality. And tip number 4 is to introduce some kind of obstacle or conflict. By introducing obstacles or conflicts, this will force your character to face their fears and face their weaknesses. And, overcoming these obstacles is very powerful, both for the story, but also for the character development. And here, depending on where in the story the obstacle shows up, maybe your character will succeed or maybe they will fail. Both will create momentum and, conflict in the story, which is super interesting for the reader, and it will make sure that you have momentum and an exciting storyline. And tip number 5 is to use show don't tell. And yes, I know I talk a lot about show don't tell on this podcast, but the thing is, it's so important. I can't emphasize this enough. Sure, maybe you should not use show all the time, but most writers can use show a lot more than they are. And if you want to create intriguing characters, then, make them show their personality and their traits instead of telling the reader. So don't tell the reader that a character is cheap and that the character does not want to pay for their date's lunch. Show it instead. Show how they, don't want to take out their wallets and are really slow, so that the other character in the end has to either pay for both of them or, say that I can pay for my part. Because that can be a really powerful scene, and it also gives a lot of personality to the character. And tip number 6 is to give your character a unique voice. I talked a lot about this in a YouTube video that I made about how to craft compelling dialogue. And it's so important that each character has a unique voice. If you're great at writing dialogue, then you don't even have to say who said it, because the reader will know, because they will recognize the tone of voice and the phrases that the character used when they talk. I know this is really hard to become super good at this, but it is something that we can continuously try to improve, I think. And one way to give your character a unique voice is, maybe they have some kind of quirk and use some kind of expression or some kind of talking patterns or whatever. And tip number 7 is to actually let your characters talk in a realistic way. In the real world, we actually, people don't get to finish sentences because someone else feels the need to say what they have to say before the other one has to finish. And also, sometimes we say things, but we mean something completely different. Utilize this. Put it in your writing, because that will make sure that you write super interesting characters. And it's a scale. Sometimes your character will say what they mean, and sometimes they will tweak it a little bit and say it-ish what they mean, but sometimes they will say something completely different, but the subtext is still what they mean. So it's a scale but that you can play with. And here, talk to your beta readers or talk to your editor and see when you hit the mark and when you find the soft spot that is the perfect one. But play around a little bit with it and experiment. And advice number 8 is to let your characters go through change and growth. That your characters should undergo some sort of growth throughout the story. If you want help with this, I recommend you reading up on different character arcs and character archetypes. There are a lot of good books on this out there, but make sure that your character goes through some kind of growth or change. It could be a change in belief, it could be a change in relationships or self-discovery. And the thing is that development makes your character more interesting and more dynamic. Tip number 9 is to create empathy for your characters. Create characters that readers can empathize with. So they don't necessarily have to like the character, but if the character has something that the reader can empathize with, this will make them more dynamic. Because most people have, some traits, something that we all can relate to and empathize with. And this will also help the reader understand the character's struggles and emotions. Because the thing is that emotional connection is crucial when it comes to reader engagement. And tip number 10 is to visualize your characters. So make sure to have a clear mental picture of what your character looks like, how they talk, how they walk, how they whatever. And when it comes to appearance, I actually started using AI. I use Midjourney to create, photos of my characters, and then I put them in my Scrivener project, and I will write out their backstory, their mannerisms, and basically everything about them. And it really, really helps, especially if you're writing a series or if you have a big project, because some of the smaller characters may, you may forget that their hair were black otherwise or whatever. But make sure that you have a clear picture, because if you have a clear picture, then your reader will see what you see when they read about the character. In essence, writing great characters enhances the overall quality of your book. It will make it more enjoyable, and it's also more likely that your reader will have a lasting impression of what they read if you create memorable characters. It's a really good investment to do this for the writer-reader connection. One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about writing great characters and memorable characters is actually because I love character-driven stories. So yeah, that's for sure one of the reasons. And what are some of your favorite characters in books? Do you like, are there any tropes that you like morally gray men, or that's the only one I could think of? But yeah, let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. If you watched this far in the video, it would really help me if you gave it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. Bye!